So I'd like to come to you, Ms. Oreoluwa Lesi. You're doing what I call really complex and hard work. It may seem really easy, but you're empowering women in STEM, and you're doing so because you have an end goal in mind. What I'd love to hear from you is, what is it about STEM, empowering women in STEM, that gives them that extra something, if you like, on their career or entrepreneurial journey? Can you tell us about the why behind what you're doing and how it's going to define the landscape of gender empowerment and inclusion?
All right, thank you so much. I hope you can all hear me. All right. So, the reason I do what I do is in large part because of my journey. And I think for everyone, their why is usually personal. And so for me, I think that I felt that I lacked that guidance in my life and direction. Now I have parents who are very supportive, and incidentally both engineers. So I had those STEM role models. But in terms of me thinking about what I wanted to do, I felt that there was a lot of information that was missing in schools, or just generally being able to piece your interest to a future career. But anyway, so long story, I stumbled on technology, and so that's the path that I followed after a first degree in economics. But then when I started my journey in technology, I looked around and I saw that I was one of a handful of women working in technology, and I started wondering why. And at that time, I had started a master's, and so through the master's, I was looking at the research, I was looking at the figures, and the participation, the engagement of women was abysmal. And this was many years ago, but even then, you could see that science and technology is really the future. Of course, all disciplines are important, but because, these are subjects that are creating innovation upon which, our society runs, it's very important to have women in this space. So when you have figures like only 35% of the STEM graduates across the world are women, and then in Nigeria, that figure is 22%. You're already starting from such a low bar that by the time you look at the workplace, it's only going to get worse. So I thought that, why are more women not in the space? And the reasons vary. A lot of it cultural, a lot of it down to the way that we're raised, socialization. And so the work that I do actually starts from the base. We start from girls in secondary school. And what we're essentially doing is opening their eyes to the possibility of careers in STEM. We are doing hands-on training. We are also exposing them to influential women who are working in technology. And incidentally, Ms. Funke Opeke has, come to our STEM camp and spoken to the girls so that they start to get an idea of something that is different. For a lot of the girls, we do a lot of research. And we had about 77% of girls, upon starting our program, felt that STEM are careers for men. And this is in today's world, and you're wondering how. But then you start to see that with mentorship, with exposure to training, and then they start to build that confidence. And they think, you know what, I can do this. So you are demystifying what seems to be very complicated and complex. And then you're also exposing them to options in STEM. So it's not just all about programming, because that's what a lot of people think, but there are different options. You could be a computer engineer, you could be a systems analyst, you could be a business analyst, you could decide not to even work in STEM, but be someone who is so confident in that knowledge that you're able to apply to everything that you're doing. And we see now with emerging technologies, well, not emerging anymore, like artificial intelligence, is affecting all of us, whether we consider ourselves to be in STEM or not. So it's important that we're all confident, we're all digitally and, innovation-minded, so that we're able to think about how we can leverage on these tools that are already out there. And of course, as women, also help to create the innovation of tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you. And there's just one question I wanted to follow up very quickly. We often talk about technology outdoing humans and the future of work being very different to how it is now. You are spending time investing in human capital through technology. But that same technology could eventually maybe outpace the capacity of human capital. The jury is still out on that. Do you think this technology is going to be the liberation that women finally need to take an equal seat at the table? And what advice would you give women here today who want to leverage technology as a way of building career resilience or entrepreneurial resilience?
So, I mean, I think that it's important to know tech, to be confident in it, but I don't think it's the panacea that is going to solve the existing gender inequalities in society. What tech does is it really amplifies what's already going on in the world. So we find that historically we've had fewer women, in this space because there are a lot of existing stereotypes about where a girl's place is, where a woman's place is, what girls should study. Those things already exist. Then when they get into the university, there are also those biases that, oh, are you in the right department? You're a woman studying computer science, and maybe you are one out of like 100 people in your department. Then you go into the workplace, and it gets even worse. There's a lot of unconscious bias because most of the leadership are men. Of course, the way that the staff are assessed, it's also very, very biased. A lot of times it's about long nights, working late, and a lot of women cannot do that. So we also need to change the way that we are assessing, how women and men work. So there are a lot of existing biases, and I think that, tech can definitely not solve that. We need to solve those existing or be in the process of solving those problems. I think before we can actually feel that we're getting to parity, gender parity.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. A round of applause for Oreoluwa Lesi. I think you're really doing important work.